good, y'all? Welcome to another installment of 12 Days of Storytime. More than halfway through. Thank you guys so much for all your love and support. For those of you guys who are not aware, I am doing a GoFundMe for my family. Please make sure you donate. If you haven't, or if you can't, just share it. If you don't feel like it, just make sure you watch all my videos through and through. It will help me more than you understand. As you guys can tell by the title of this video, today we're going to be talking about Dirty Diana. Now, for those of you guys on my Patreon, like on the highest tier, or I think, I forgot how the perks work right now. However, understand if you join my Patreon and you're on the $0 tier, you just join to join. There's literally nothing there for you except emergency updates. But for those of you guys who are on like the $3 or $5 tier, you should have access to the Discord. I'm not sure if it's both. It should be, okay? If you paid any money to my Patreon every month, you should have access to my Discord. Usually there is a Patreon chat, but they added that like mad late and I already had a Discord chat. That's where I do all my life updates. And if you guys are on there, you would know that Dirty Diana is going through a lot right now. And I would really appreciate you guys send some prayers to her. I'm not going to put it on a public platform of what's going on, but I have been talking about it in the Discord. So with that being said, we're going to tell a past story of Dirty Diana that I ain't know nothing about. And it just proves that me and my parents are literally on a different plane in terms of what we allow and shit. Like, my parents are literally nice ass people. Like it's crazy. As much as my parents get on my nerves, like for real, I realize that I'm a lot meaner than my parents. And the reason the Lord sent me to my parents as their child is so that I could be their goddamn pit bull. Like, I know I hate being the pit bull, but I realize that like they're like the biggest pushovers, like, and the biggest like, oh, it's okay, everyone deserves a second chance type motherfuckers ever. Okay, so if you guys are not aware about my cousin Dirty Diana, she's literally a cousin from France that's always coming to the US, and usually she stays at my parents' house because nobody wants to take her in, and my parents are always like, oh, it's okay that you fucked up last time, let's just do it again. So this is a time about when Dirty Diana came to my parents' house and I wasn't around. I guess she came in like a summer month or something like that, and I happened to be at DMX's house. If you guys are not aware who DMX is, he's my mom's nephew. I've been super close to him since I was a child, always go to his house during breaks and stuff like that. So it's very interesting because it's like, I think this is probably the only time she came over there and I knew nothing about it. And apparently my parents kind of kept it a secret. If I knew about this story, she dead ass would have never came back. Okay, she dead ass would have never came back because she does too much, right? So my last Dirty Diana story, I talked about how she came, she was doing the most, but at the same time, she wasn't doing well. Like, she just kind of looked like a crackhead. I don't know who keeps texting me. Oh, that's my man. Hey, daddy. Okay, hold up. Yeah, she just wasn't looking too well. Like, one thing about Dirty Diana, like, even though she be getting down and she got all these niggas or whatever, I will say she always flee. Always has clean clothes, always got her nails done, hair done, everything did. But this last time she came, she just looked extremely disheveled, almost like she was on drugs. Like, it was really, really bad. And now she's just really not doing well. So every time she's gone over to my parents' house, leading up to now, she's just been on a decline. And it's crazy because I didn't really realize it until my parents were telling me this story not too long ago. So like I said, Dirty Diana had came to my parents' house to visit or whatever, and I just happened not to be home. I was at DMX's house and she ended up coming out of nowhere this time. She didn't really give too much of a, hey, I'm coming to the States. Typically she does that and then she just shows up when she wants to, but this time she literally just showed up on my parents' doorstep. And at this point she was beefing with her mom per usual. Okay, just like in the last story, she was beefing with her mom. It's very weird that they'll have issues, but then they'll be the best of friends, then they effing the same dude. Like, it's very strange dynamic. So she ends up coming over to my mom's house, and my mom asked her like the obvious question of, oh, did you go see your mom yet? Like, you know, like, I didn't know you were coming, did you go see your mom yet? And she's like, oh no, you know, I don't want to go see her, we ain't got nothing to talk about. And if I'm not mistaken, this argument was over something else. Like, from what I understand, it was about money. It was one of those things where she was mad that she didn't give her money for something, or I just know it was about money. I forgot what the gist of it was, but it was about money. So she was like, I really don't feel like talking to that lady. You know, I'm just going to stay here. My mom and my dad, being the kind people that they are, gullible in my opinion, but kind people that they are, let her stay in the house. And to be honest, according to my mom, she wasn't that bad until she was that bad. So she obviously, every time she comes, she's always seeing men and going off and doing all this types of stuff. Like, nobody ever knows where she is. And the thing is, she's grown, right? She can do what she wants. But you are an international guest. And on top of that, nobody really invited you here. You kind of just showed up. You got to respect people's house, right? And if something happens to her, they're obviously going to blame my parents because they're the ones that let her in. So she goes off for a straight week, y'all. Straight week with a dude, okay? At this point, my parents don't know who the dude is. They can't call her because her phone doesn't work here. Now, this is kind of before the time of like, I don't want to say international calls weren't a thing, right? But they were 10 times expensive back then than they are now. Like, we know now we just call up the phone company, or we could even add it on the app, like $10 international calling type vibe. But for her, she didn't have that. Like, she just had her phone from France. She didn't really feel like getting another SIM card. It was a whole thing. So basically, no one could reach her. She leaves for a whole week. And my mom is crying, bawling. She thinks something happened to her. If this story sounds familiar, it's because it happens every single time she comes to the States.
Hey y'all, sorry for the echo. I'm in my community lounge, or my building's lounge, trying to film this, but this was so serious that like people were about to call the cops. Like, it was that serious. So I had lived in this building on Jefferson Park in Elizabeth. If you guys are not aware about it, I talk about it all the time on my Haitian channel. And it was very community based. So since my mom kept crying and all of that, and she was so worried, everybody was like, yo, just make a police report, you know, like.
He's not going to say anything until he absolutely has to.
Shit. And like, it's so crazy because that shit made my dad so mad, because it's like, we all knew, well, they knew, obviously. They knew that she was with a dude, okay? They knew that like, it really wasn't that serious, but at this point, it's been a week. Something could have actually happened to her. And then every single time she would call someone in the family, like, hey, like, have you seen her? Like, this is what's going on. They try to blame her for it, which at this point, it is her fault. But I mean, at this point, like, back in the time, it wasn't. Like, this was her first time really dealing with her in that type of capacity. Now when it happens, it's like, listen, she be getting mad, people blame her, and I'm like, nigga, this is like the 5th time she's done this. Like, no.
Like, especially with my mom's family, like, my dad is super close with my mom's family. Talks to a lot of my mom's family more than he talks to his own. So it's like, a lot of times when things happen, he don't really feel like intervening until he has to, right? I had to be young, okay? And I know for a fact I didn't meet her at this point. Like, this is before I even knew what a Dirty Diana was. So that's how I know that this story is super, super old, because my dad still had a car, and my dad hasn't driven in a long time due to him letting people be on his insurance and them running up the insurance and having car accidents. Child, like I said, my parents, complete pushovers for real. Essentially, she goes missing. My mom starts crying. My dad's starting to get annoyed because my mom keeps crying, bitching, and complaining and doesn't know where Dirty Diana is. And eventually she shows back up, right? And she is belligerent. She is drunk. She is like falling off on her ass. Like, I'm talking about, like, she looked like she probably was partying for the straight week, okay? And my mom's like, where were you? Like, what the fuck? Like, you know, good thing she couldn't blame me for it, because I was too young and not around and didn't know who she was. And she's like, oh, I was just out with some friends. You know, it's no big deal, you know. And my mom's just looking at her like, what the fuck you mean it's no big deal? You've been gone for a straight week. Nobody could figure out where you were. You didn't come back at any given point. And she's like, oh, no, I did come back. But the times that I came back, like, you was just at work, you know, like, you just didn't see me. Nigga, who gave you a key? Ain't nobody give you a key. So what do you mean you came back? Oh, you know, ask your husband. Like, I came back. Like, right, I came back. Now, the reason she felt so comfortable doing that is because my dad, again, does not intervene. Like, he's real cool. I will say he's... You'll know for the rest of this story. He's the type of person that he's real quiet until he ain't. Okay? He's real like, keep doing your bullshit until he's like, I get like that. My dad's like, don't be putting me in your bullshit. I ain't never seen you. Like, literally, like, my dad's like, don't be putting me in your mess. You was not here. You did not come back. I have no idea why you're lying. And she's like, oh, you probably just didn't see me. I knocked on the door a couple times. You ain't answer, but I was here. I came back a few times during the week. Oh my God, has it actually been a week yet? And my dad's just looking at her like, so you really about to sit here and lie to our faces telling us that you came here and we just happened not to be here, but then you never had a key, but then now you're trying to say, oh, you was knocking on the door and I ain't answered. Don't be involving me in your shit. So my dad starts going off. Mind you, all of this is in Creole and French, okay? My dad starts going off and he's like, yo, you know what? I'm tired of you. You're going to have to go back to your mama's house. oh, I don't want to go. Oh my God, this is so ridiculous. You guys are taking this too seriously. Nothing happened. I was just out. I'm grown. I could go out if I want to. Like, and the thing is, if I'm not mistaken, so if I'm 29 now, and this happened probably when I was between the ages of like 12 to 14-ish, maybe a little younger, she had to probably, she was grown, but not really. Like, I'm talking about like maybe 19, 20, 21 type vibe. So I'm just like, you grown, but we know what Haitian parents, you not grown until you grown. Like, literally until they die. So it's just like, girl. Like, you can't even say you over the age of 30. Like, you're literally like, you just hit legal and you're doing all this goofy shit. So they're going back and forth. And my dad is just like, all right, I'm going to show you something. Next morning, wakes Dirty Diana up in the crack of dawn. Okay? Like, on some, like, cock-a-doodle-doo. 4 o'clock in the morning. Wakes her up and is like, all right, we gotta go. Now, my mom happened to be off that day because she's always up like 4 or 5 a.m. to go to work, but that day she was off. So he's waking her up like, yo, you gotta go. I was like, wait, what's going on? Like, what are you doing? He's like, stay out of it. You're going to your mom's house. I'm gonna drive you there myself. I don't know what happened with her mom. See, the thing is with her mom, I don't know if I want to do a story time about that. She's just as crazy as she is. She's just older, and it's sad because she's older and she still does the same exact shit to this day in terms of just like crazy, erratic, ridiculous behavior. Her mom happened to be living with my aunt that I talk about all the time on Patreon, okay? This aunt, right, I've always called her auntie. I don't like her. I don't fuck with her. At this time, I did. Obviously, I was young. This is before all the situation happened with Christmas and stuff. But sometimes when something would happen with Dirty Diana's mom, Dirty Diana would stay with her. And auntie's a very hard person to live with. Nobody wants to be around that lady. It's not just a me and my cousin's thing. Like, she's just very dramatic. She has issues, and she the type of person, she friends with you today and then she beefing with you tomorrow. So some way, somehow, her mom ended up living with her, and my dad basically had to call to figure out where the fuck she was, because she was like, yo, like, I'm gonna bring Dirty Diana to you because she's doing too much. Like, she's doing too much. My wife out here crying, and this is absolutely ridiculous at this point. Y'all need to do something. But just in case y'all don't, I'm going to do something. So he puts her in the car. He's like, oh, you're going to Long Island. Because everybody live in Long Island regardless. So whatever, same shit. He's like, oh, you going to Long Island? I don't got time for this. Literally drops her on my auntie's doorstep. The girl is crying, banging at my dad's car door. Like, when my parents were telling me this story, I'm just sitting there like, and y'all still let her in the damn house. Like, and this is the thing, I don't have a problem with Dirty Diana. I'm not beefing with her. It's nothing like that. It's just like, you can't consistently allow someone to do something to you and treat you some type of way, and then you enable their behavior by letting them come to your house all the time to do the same shit. So I'm just sitting there looking like, why would you, like, I literally looked at my dad like, why would you allow this? Like, this is actually extremely problematic, like, you know. So it's funny because looking back on all the Dirty Diana stories I've told, and then knowing that this story came legitimately before it, is crazy, because it's like, yo, y'all know that she like this. She has a pattern of behavior that is extremely destructive to herself and the people around her. But I will say, like I said, she's not doing too well right now, and I hope her not doing too well helps her wake up and realize that her lifestyle is just not conducive to a healthy lifestyle and is not good for her. I will say that ever since my Patreon update, it's just sad because she still happens to be going through whatever she's going through. And moral of the story, do not let people treat you a certain way consistently, and then be confused as to why their behavior doesn't change, because what you allow is what will continue. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, peep the description box for everything you guys asked me about down below. Check out my other channels, and I'm gonna see y'all next time. Bye!